Have you ever wondered what really goes on behind the scenes of government? How decisions are made that shape your community and your future? Welcome to Govern, the podcast where we take you inside the world of public service, leadership, and the innovation driving local change. Join us as we explore the roles of elected officials, how government operates, and what it takes to create real change. We'll dive into forward-thinking leadership lessons, and how we all can influence the decisions that shape our communities and futures. Thank you for tuning in to Govern with Supervisor Curt Hagman.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Govern. My name is Curt Hagman, and I'm very happy to have my CEO of the County of San Bernardino, Luther Snoke, with me. Luther, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I'm looking forward to having a lot what you get to tell me today, because we have our visions as board members, but you're the one that has to keep it all together. So talk a little about yourself first. How long have you been in this position?
So I'm Luther Snoke. I'm the San Bernardino County's Chief Executive Officer. I've been in the role for about 20 months. So I'm still measuring it in months, so you know that it's still rather new. I've been with the county for almost 12 years. I started as an analyst. I've held the title of Strategic Initiatives Chief. I was a Deputy Executive Officer with the county for a couple years, County Chief Operating Officer for about 3 years, and then have the privilege to serve as the CEO, which is amazing.
Which is kind of cool for us, because as board members, we have about 3 employees. You, our clerk, and our county council.
Yep.
The 20+ thousand members of the San Bernardino County all work for you.
For the most part, yes. We have quite a few employees under my span of control. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
And I will say,
we have.
I think I've been the longest one on the board so far. And so I actually went through 5 different CEO and CAOs. We had different time. We had a CAO, which I never really understood the difference between a CEO and CAO. But you've been doing a fantastic job for us. And this job tends to burn people out because there is so much going on in a county our size, larger than 12 states?
Yeah. Larger than Costa Rica.
Yeah, many countries.
Yes.
And we have like one of the top 30 economies just ourselves in the world. So you have a lot of shoulders. So let me start off with first impressions before you took the job and 20 months into it. Was it everything you thought about, I guess?
It is everything I thought it was and so much more. It is a much bigger job, actually, than I even realized it would be. As Chief Operating Officer, being close to the CEO role, I really thought I had a full understanding, and I couldn't have been more wrong, to be quite honest. There is so much that this county does, and every day, I'm probably learning at least a dozen new things every day in this job. And I think that's likely the case for anyone who's going to be in it. Anybody who comes into this role thinking they know will be quickly reminded they don't.
Even with the 12 years experience. And one of the things I loved about your background is you have private sector as well as public sector experience come in this role, which I think personally is important for all leaders of different areas. And really takes more knowledge, more the leadership style to make things go smooth. You have a lot of wonderful talent below you, department heads, staff, team members of the county, but it takes a leader to bring them together to work as a unit. So tell us a little bit about your leadership style and what you found works and doesn't work.
From the standpoint of my leadership style, I think being a transparent leader in government is important. It differs, from the private sector. My time in the private sector, we're very focused on profitability. We're very focused on implementing new innovations that will improve the efficiency of the entity so that we can achieve profitability. When you're in government, you want these same innovations. You want efficiencies. You want to be effective, but you have to go through a different process to get there. And frankly, you work within a different culture than you do in the private sector. People are very purpose-driven in government, including staff. Many of the staff who come to government and who stay in government are here because they either wanted to make a difference or they were looking for some sort of stability, some sort of opportunity to grow and to serve. versus the private sector where it's often financially driven. Many people are not financially driven, in fact, here. So it requires a leader to behave differently in government. I find that being transparent, being inclusive with people, bringing them in, helping them understand why we're doing something, giving them opportunities to serve, giving them opportunities to stretch themselves a little bit and take on new initiatives, things that maybe government historically would be less inclined to do, and make that okay to try something new. And if they were to fail, but they're well intended, that we support them and we encourage new and innovative ways to lead and to serve in government. And I find that people really respond well to that.
And I think that's one of the biggest changes culturally we did in this organization under the last 3 or 4 years is really, and that was my frustration coming from the private sector too, is you don't stay in business unless you're reinventing yourself constantly, because your competitors are always doing that as well. And government is pretty much a monopoly. It's like we don't change ourselves because people are risk averse in government. So I think you've done a fantastic job. The results obviously show, or the record holder of NACO award is 3 years in a row. And so I would continue to support that effort of the county. Like I said, as long as it's well intended, we need to bring innovation and continue that. It's a little different for you. So you don't have a board of directors, but you have a board of supervisors. So there's 5 of us with 5 very distinct geographical locations and needs. Mine's a very small portion of the county with a denser population than my colleagues, and there's different needs in different areas. So that's got to be challenging as well. How do you balance out the wants, the desires of your board of supervisors and the needs of the county as a whole, which sometimes may not directly go hand in hand?
Yeah, that's probably one of the more challenging aspects of the job, to be quite frank. It's a good CEO needs to learn his or her board members individually, what their interests are, what their goals are, what they would like to achieve within their districts. For you, innovation and technology has been a huge platform for you. So looking for ways to utilize innovative new ways of providing service, I know that's something you're interested in. So we look for those opportunities. And in the geography of the county, again, probably one of our biggest challenges. We are the largest geographic county in the continental United States. While that's a great thing to have and really, cool from the standpoint of being able to say that to people, from the standpoint of delivering service across the entire 20,000 plus square miles of the county, it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. And with limited resources and so much area to span, we're constantly having to make tough decisions, strategic decisions, and compromises for how we best roll out services that really benefit everyone, but also are effective and cost effective and efficient. And that is a constant thing to hold in tension of how do we deliver services to all residents while doing it in a cost-effective and efficient manner.
I just saw an email out yesterday from Andrew about rolling out a RV converted healthcare clinic to reach some of our remote areas. But that goes back to the innovation again. Instead of making people come to us for services, that we go to them, our kiosks, our remote places, be able to do things on your apps, and technology has been a big way to deliver those services a little easier than we used to. But that's all under your leadership and vision.
Yeah. I'm glad you hit on the mobile units, because it costs a lot to either construct a brick and mortar location or to lease it and then to staff it and to, fill it with equipment that's needed. So we have leveraged technology, leveraged modern tools, and built out a number of mobile units across the county that we could deploy to the far-reaching areas of the county effectively. And maybe they don't need someone there every single day, but to get out there frequently when they do and provide services directly to the residents so they don't have to drive hours to receive it. That's pretty innovative. And, kudos to the board, kudos to staff for developing and implementing and operating a number of these units.
Well, it's also, I was just thinking about this too. It's not just the five of us that you have to deal with, but you have to deal with independent fire district
Yeah.
that we are the fire board members of, but also an independent elected sheriff, other countywide offices that are elected independently that even though they're independent, they're a subset of us with their budgets and policies sometimes. So we have multiple, I would say, egos and different directions that people want to go. They have to balance out, I would say.
Yeah, that is a challenge. And some people feel very strongly about certain things that they want to achieve and accomplish. And it's constantly navigating that world of how do we align on the things that we can, and how do we implement the things that we can do and help folks accomplish? How do we work together? As you mentioned, we have a independent fire district. We also have numerous special districts, and such as our flood control district. We have multiple park and rec districts. It is a constant challenge to partner in a way that is effective and uses the county resources in a way that's effective, and that aligns with the interest of the board members.
And we just had an interesting board meeting today where we're doing budget for the next year.
Yes.
And a 5-year forecast. So let me ask you, how's the state of the county at this point?
Well, that is a good question. I would say the state of the county actually financially is I want to say great, but I think the challenge, I would say very good. It may be great, but it may also be challenged over the next few years as we have a lot of uncertainty. Not just the county, I mean, across the nation, whether that's the potential for a recession. We've had so many good years in a row, but we've also had big challenges. We're coming out of COVID. We have seen quite a bit of funding pushed out into governments and a lot of investment made. We've seen a lot of inflation potentially as a result of some of that inflow of cash. And so that's driven up cost, not only for projects, but also the cost of our employees. So we're looking at how do we continue to be, recruiting and retaining great, talented people, and also growing programs where we need to and getting good projects done. And so we're constantly, with the limited resources we have, we're constantly in flux looking for how we can accomplish all of those things while at the same time ensuring that we're preparing for uncertainty, maybe the potential for reduction in funding to certain initiatives or sales tax reduction.
How much, let me ask you this, because I know the answers, but I think a lot of the residents don't. Counties get money by property tax, a little bit of sales tax, but the majority of our programs come from either the state or the federal government.
That's correct.
We are the operators for the state and federal government on a local level, and they say this is a priority for us. Let's take foster care or whatever the case may be. Here's money, go do this job.
Yeah.
Sometimes they cover the expenses. A lot of times they don't. But that uncertainty, what's the percentage of federal and state funds that's going to be a big flex for us the next 3 or 4 years versus local funds?
Yeah. So that's a great point. And it's interesting, a little scary, actually. So our county's budget is a tick over $10 billion. About 55% comes from federal and state sources. Property tax reflects about a little over 10% of the county's cash coming in, revenues coming in. So yeah, property tax is a big piece, and it's a big piece of the county's general fund. But of the total pot, over 55% is coming from federal.
So we have a lot of that uncertainty because we don't know what the federal government is going to do. We don't know. And then you top that up for our county specifically. We're also very logistics heavy.
Yes.
We are 40% of the United States cargo comes from ports, Long Beach and LA, and they come through our county going someplace else. So obviously the private policies or the policies from the government that's affecting private sector right now may have a big impact or may not, depending on what the next 3 to 6 months bring us on our local economy as well, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen, we are heavily industrial here in San Bernardino County. Interest rates have climbed, and we have seen our industrial land values decrease. What does that mean to the county from the standpoint of property tax long term? What does that mean from the standpoint if we have a slowdown in industry and logistics? What does that mean to our workforce? So there are uncertainties, but yet on the flip side, it's an amazing asset to have. We are very close to the ports. We see a lot of goods move through the county, and as long as the economy throughout the nation continues to churn, which, we know it's cyclical. So even if it goes down, it'll come back up.
Well, it really helped us during COVID too.
Oh,
We stayed open, and we didn't get hit hard like other places did.
Yeah,
during
so
COVID.
huge benefits to having so much logistics and industrial, investment here in our county. And, it's a matter of time till that, recovers. But in the meantime, we are more exposed to potential downside risk in that industry.
I'm very optimistic about the county's future, 5, 10, 15 years. We're the place to grow. What is your, I guess, predictions as well? What do you think our strengths and weaknesses are? If you had to do a SWOT on just 2 items of each, what's our 2 biggest strengths and 2 biggest weaknesses right now?
So I would say 2 strengths we have. Number one, we have a board that gets along, that you see it from the dais. They are able to agree upon investment in this county. That's important. We have financial strength. We have made good investment. Our board has been supportive of a conservative approach to financial management and balancing investment into programs and staff with setting aside money for potential uncertainties. I think we are primed from that standpoint. I also think, the opportunities here in the county are amazing. We are just scratching the surface on what this county can truly accomplish. Those are great. Like any entity, we have challenges. So I would say that public safety continues to be a challenge for us, as it is in many places in the state. It's no different here. We have an amazing sheriff. Our local police departments are fantastic, but there's always just more need than there is deputies or police officers. So continuing to make investment there and establish higher levels of public safety is important. And like many governments in just communities, we're dealing with homelessness. And that's something, rising housing costs, challenges with employment for many. We face those things here too.
And a lot of that stuff's out of our control because there's state policies that affect a lot of things we would do. State and federal policies, like currently in the news is immigration, but we have a state that's also kind of, that's their problem. But we have to deal with those problems. Housing costs, in my opinion, are high because a lot of the regulations we put on housing. So there's a lot of things that we just don't have control over. With me serving at different levels, we can see that. But, one of the great things we have is we do have some great cities too.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things you've been very active with is interacting with other agencies. So we deal with the state, we have to deal with the state, but we also have some wonderful cities. What's your thought there of where they're going?
Well, we have 24 cities within our county. They each have their own flavors and interests, but we have a number of cities that are really knocking it out of the park. The city of Ontario in your district is phenomenal. They're making huge investment, seeing great return. A lot of great things happening there. City of Fontana, open for business is their slogan. They've proven that they are. Victorville up in our high desert, really doing a phenomenal job of innovative ways to try to serve their community better, and taking the lead both in a number of different things: homelessness, animal sheltering in the high desert. Really some great things, and that's not to leave any others out. There's so many great things happening. Just a sample of it, but we really are seeing relationships with those cities build between each other as well as with the county, and together is really, some of these things that we're facing are big deals, and we're not going to solve them ourselves just as a county. So we need those partnerships.
Yeah. Homelessness is one of those.
Absolutely.
Majority of our homeless residents live within incorporated cities.
Yes.
But then there's a place for the county as the bigger brother to kind of bring them together and come up with a plan. It's interesting though. I think a lot of my residents don't know that they just see one street out the other. They don't know there's a jurisdictional bounding. So like in my district, the unincorporated areas is between the cities, and it's not that very much of it. but the cities don't necessarily touch in some places. In my other colleagues' areas, it's much more separation. So it's a lot more unincorporated area.
Yeah.
But the cities do the same thing the county does within their geographical areas, but we do so much more outside of that, the social services and such. So having that, because those needs are not always the same as the county, it takes those back to your relationship and your leadership style to have our team work with their teams to see if we could be on the same page in a region, I guess.
Well, I think you hit it. Roads are a fantastic example of where partnerships matter. There will literally be a line somewhere that divides a city area from an unincorporated county area. And if we go do a road project in an unincorporated area and we don't partner with that city, we will pave to a line and people will notice that. The issue is, though, they won't know why. They really won't understand why. So even in something as simple as a road paving project, partnering with the city, not only so that residents don't experience that line, but we get efficiency because of a larger project. And so the cost in total usually is less on a per mile basis when we partner with cities. So partnering all the way around just makes so much more sense. And coming together to tackle some of the bigger issues is really where we're going to see success.
I've just had a board meeting this morning for the new ARC, Animal Resource Center that we're having on the West End that the county is a partner of. So we're month 1.5 maybe of the new JPA where we are partnered up with now. As of this morning, I think it's 5 cities now. Chino Hills joined up today. So that's for animal rescue and kill-free shelters that we're going to be established in the West End. So we have to do this all the time. We're a partner with Ontario International Airport with the City of Ontario, where the county is a JPA partner. So those are great because we're more efficient. They're also very confusing for some of our residents who don't know who is supposed to do what. I remember back in the days of my city when I was on Chino Hills, you get a lot of complaints about Carbon Canyon. And I kept telling them, that's not our road.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's in the city. No, it's Caltrans Road, and we couldn't. So that's where it's hard to find out. And I think the technology has helped. A lot more information online now than it used to be, but there's still that separation of different entities of silos. Would almost, if you think about silos, and we're doing a much better job in the county now having those silos work together of all the different departments. How many departments do we have?
We have about 45 departments just in the county. So you talk about silos externally. I mean, we still have some silos internally that we're working on. But it's amazing the coordination that happens overall internally. With homelessness, I think we have 18 different departments who are involved in some way or another addressing homelessness. So, it takes a village.
How do we continue to break down those silos and hopefully leveraging technology? And this is a decade ago when I first started, but I didn't know a single mom need resources may qualify for 3 or 4 different programs, but she's having to go fill an application at each different department to see if they qualified. Is literally fill out your name, address, and everything else over again. So I know we've been working on that and integrating technology, but even going through our building and planning, they have to go to the fire to get signed off. Some of those things in different locations. How are we going to work on trying to make it more simple for our residents?
Yeah, that's been an initiative. You talk about land use in our building and planning departments, that having a one-stop shop makes all the sense in the world for our residents. If they can come to one location, then they don't have to be an expert on all the county services and where to go to get them. How do we centralize more of what we do so that when our residents, especially when they have to travel already among this large county, how do we get places where we can have one-stop shops for them? So that's something we're working on downstairs in this very building where we sit today, on our first floor in our land use department. Our goal is to remodel that. We're actually actively working on that to bring not just building safety and planning, but also county fire, to bring public works, to bring
solid waste.
Which
I didn't know. My ADU project, I got to get a permit from them. It's I got to go to another building to pay a $75 permit.
Got to make sure that where you're taking your waste is appropriate and that we're diverting it where we can. And so there's a California program that we navigate through and administer. But If we can do that for our residents to make their lives easier and their experience better, we'll do that. We're looking at ways we can do that in human services using AI and other tools on how do we when they apply for one thing, how do we look at what else they may qualify for, so we can, while they're there and we have them at one location, how do we get them to apply for other services as well?
Let me ask you this too, for someone that wants to have a career in the county, you as the boss of all the bosses here, what do you look for as you promote young talent to be managerial positions or move up the ranks?
That's my favorite question. So just to preface that, my favorite thing about this job is every 2 weeks we have a group of new hires. On day one at 8:30 in the morning on a Monday, I get to go talk to them. And because of the size of our organization, we average about 150 new hires every 2 weeks. And I infuse in them what I call my 3 H's: hungry, humble, hustle. It is what I believe encompasses and embodies San Bernardino County's finest. Really who we are as a region. We're hungry. We want to see growth. We want better opportunities. We're humble, which is the most attractive quality to me. Humility, not weakness, but like true humility of people who are really here to serve or to help others. I see that. And then hustle. People work hard here, and it's amazing to see. And when you put those 3 H's together, hungry, humble, hustle, people accomplish amazing things. I believe that is the secret sauce here in this organization, is the county of San Bernardino, by which people can grow in responsibilities, by which they'll succeed. If they learn how to package those 3 H's up, and obviously you need prerequisite skills, learn the job, learn what's needed. But if you bring those 3 H's into how you do business here in the county as an employee, you will grow.
And I do know we have a lot of internal help too. So once you get in the organization, I've been to many of our Leadership Academy graduations. We have the mentors, and the fact that we're inspiring innovation, not in necessarily the technical way, although that's part of it, but just get out of your comfort zone and take a risk, bring up a new idea.
Yeah.
Even from the newest person at the entry level to you, having that communication go up and down to have great ideas sometimes to make the organization better is what we need to keep installing.
Yeah. We've been working at the county administrative office. I don't know if this will ever launch publicly, but we've been for the last 6 months working on try, fail, improve, repeat. I don't love it. I don't know that I want to put that out there forever and ever, but from the standpoint of, we want people to try. We're okay if people fail, if they improve and try again. So again, it goes back to that. It's if they're doing it for the right reasons and they're really working hard and well-intended, we want to see people take reasonable risks and then support them when they have challenges. And, I also have a saying, be strategic. With anything that we do, we know it will get hard. Some of the things we're working together with you on, they're big, hairy beasts of things that we want to get through, and we hit hard times, but we should expect that. We should expect that there will be hurdles, but if we have our strategy, we will expect to hit those hurdles, and we'll have a plan to get through them. And it's a matter of continuing to be strategic and push through even when the things get tough. So we have a lot of great people who do that in our workforce, and I think as we continue to see them even do that more, it will teach others in our workforce, and really the future is bright for the county.
I agree. With over 2 million residents in our county,
Yes.
talk about a little bit the county's health. I have a lot of optimism for the county. We got a lot of open space yet. We're on the path to different states. We got the major infrastructure, although we're getting more with Brightline and other things coming in. What do you think is going to be the biggest change for us in the next 10 years?
Well, I mean, we talked earlier about that we are logistics heavy. It would be great to expand and woo other industries here, which means we need to have infrastructure, which means we need to set the table for them. We need to have a workforce. We need to be preparing now for what 10 years from now looks like. So there's a lot of work to do by readying our workforce for more manufacturing, for tech. It would be great. We have Esri that's here based in Redlands, but it would be great to have more. How do we woo more businesses? Do we have the energy backbone and infrastructure to support them? What can we be doing now that will set our county and the cities within it up for success 10 years from now? And I think readying our workforce and improving our infrastructure is a good first step, and that alone is a big lift. But we're already taking steps to try to tackle that.
No, I agree. And of course, we're working on a lot of projects together as a county with the other board members, and especially in my district, I've got a lot of visions over there. But we're really looking forward to the future. It's an exciting time for us. We got to manage it, hopefully, your 3 H's, and also from the fiscal side, conservative, and making sure that we don't have any pitfalls or anything that sets us back. But the future is very bright for the county of San Bernardino.
Yeah, I agree. It's exciting.
Well, I want to thank you for your time. It's kind of a pleasure to get an hour's worth of my CEO time here. We have our Zoom calls and meetings and stuff, but it's nice to get to know the Luther that runs the shop. We're very pleased. The board's very pleased. I know we just had our review with you not too long ago.
I'm still here.
And he's still here. So obviously you're keeping us happy and
Thank you.
you're keeping our residents happy. And I will say for the county employees I engage with, they really enjoy you being at that top position. So thank you for sharing a little bit of the insight, what happens. We'll probably talk the next 10 hours and people still won't get the key, everything the county does. But there are a lot of great things going on in the county, and we appreciate your leadership.
Thank you so much for having me.
So until our next Govern episode, I want to thank you for joining us as well, and we'll see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found some valuable insights. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, remember that your voice matters in government.